Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the space. It's 5:03 here in California, and I know it's 8 o'clock in the East Coast. So thank you all for making time to be here, and we are excited to have you in this space as we are having this conversation around fathers, father figures, and father time. We are excited to be in this conversation as we end this month of June, where Father's Day lands. And so one of the things in this conversation that I want us to be able to talk about is not only our relationships with fathers, but also how that relationship has affected us personally, but also if we didn't have fathers in our lives, what are the father figures and those relationships that have happened. So what I want to do is once we get CJ back here, we were going to have a breakout in the first session, but I don't think that we'll do that now since we don't have a lot of people here in the room. What I would like us to do is, and I guess I'm going to use the chat as a way of communicating. I want to show you a video that kind of is how recently my work in the fatherhood scene has elevated. I am raised by a single mother. My father died before I was born, so I did not get a what do you call it? Did not get a notice that that was going to happen when I showed up here on the planet. I just showed up here on the planet, and life was a mess. And I was like, whoa, how do I navigate this? How do I figure out this role of being a man in a world where there is no one around really helping me figure it out? And that was the journey began. The journey began kind of before I was born, but definitely once I showed up here on the planet, it's been this journey of figuring out this fatherhood thing. And just recently, I found a video that I'm going to share with you. It's like 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. We're going to watch maybe 1 minute clip of it. And it has really awakened this importance in me to not only support the young men that we work with in Ever Forward, who many of them coincidentally don't have their fathers in their homes. And for those that did, their relationships were oftentimes in different degrees of regularity, whether they had a present father who was not emotionally present, whether they had a father who was always super hyper emotional, whether on the anger side or on the other sides of emotions. And oftentimes in our work, we're just trying to give them tools of navigating that world around that. CJ, are you here with me? Are you able to get your light up? So I'm going to play the video, and by the time we come back, hopefully CJ will be here. CJ is one of the young men in our program. He'll tell you his story in a second, but I'll go ahead and play this video, and then we'll go from there. Thank you for being here.
Before. All right, man. So what's on your mind?
Look, I don't want you to think like I'm trying to attack you, what you've done, just start ragging on you. I don't want you to think that. I love you. I'm coming in here with love.
I know you love me.
Yeah, and I just want you to say, okay, I'm sorry. I did it. You know?
Well, you know
I'm wrong, but
I did it. I did it. You know what I mean? And I was wrong for it. We've not interacted with each other so long. Why?
Because you never made...
Okay. But what about the first 14 years, man, when I broke my back? I'm not even talking about providing, but just to have a relationship with you. Do you remember how often I would, hey, what's going on? Nothing. Anything you want to talk about? Do you recall any times I asked you, like, I would make up things just to spend time with you, yet still, we had no interaction. We're the type of people that we're never really gonna talk much.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we don't love each other, because we're similar in that way. Like, even when you see me mad, you would know that I'm not mad at you, but I didn't know a nigga with a father. I didn't know not one nigga with a father. Not one. Did the best I could, man. I was loving. You always knew I loved you. You always knew I loved you. I didn't know what I was doing. But I tried. I gave it a genuine effort. Still genuine. I'm not the, I know I'm not the best father. But damn, homie, I tried. I really, like, sincerely tried. I tried, man. I'm sorry. I tried. That's all I wanted.
So when I first saw that video, and I only saw it this year, 2021. I mean, it came out many years ago, but I only saw it this year. I mean, we know the passing of DMX. What it did is awaken in me another fire that a story that I've not talked about. I've not talked about the feeling of emptiness a lot, of not having a father growing up, of how being expected at 7 years old to be the man of the house and take care of my siblings and operating as if I was their father figure in the home, but not having one myself, how that felt really difficult at times. And so today's conversation has me been putting out into the universe this idea that I'm going to start talking more about not only my journey, but also trying to give other men a space so they don't have to wait till they're my age to talk about it. Like I didn't start talking about it till maybe a year ago, if that. But this is the work. And today our conversation about father figures is a way for us to just deepen the conversation. And I believe that, today's attendance is not because of the importance of the topic, but because of whatever is happening out in the world as the world is opening back up for people and whatever things that is happening. But what we hope is that this is not the conversation. This is just the beginning of seeds being planted for the next one. That's what I envision around this. And so I'm going to have CJ to introduce himself. It says CJ on the screen. I always have a hard time when I say CJ because I think I'm saying the wrong name. This is, I've always called him Clive. And so CJ, thank you for being here. I'll let you introduce yourself. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about these masks and we'll begin to have a conversation around the masks. And so I'm gonna turn it over to you, CJ.
Hello, everybody. If it's too loud or too low, don't be afraid. Just let me know. My mic is broken, so I'm trying to just bear with me. But it's nice to meet everybody. My name is Clive. You guys can call me CJ. I'm 19 years old. I am currently attending CSUN, Cal State University, Northridge, and as a college in LA. And I'm excited to be here with you guys for this workshop. Is there a question you wanted me to answer, brother? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think this is your first intro to them, and so some of the folks in the room. You just can't see them yet, but this is So CJ was at the first Fund 2 Foundation Restoration Retreat. He was one of the three young men that I brought with us in Ever Forward, and his story is one that I believe resonates with a lot of young people. And so when he finds the words to share his story, I think that it adds value to the conversation. So he's presented with me many times. And so him asking me what story should he tell? He knows that I can't tell him what story to tell. I can't tell him what story he should tell, but in the mentoring way, I leave it as open as possible for them to be able to find where they feel the comfort level. And since we're having this talk about fathers and fatherhood, and I imagine that wherever he feels comfortable in the moment, he will find the words that he wants to say around that. I do have a video that CJ and one of our other interns, Kevin, recently created, where they had a deep conversation around not only fatherhood, but around things that they don't really get to talk about much. And so since you're here live, I'd rather have you in as much live as you can give us about your journey, because as we know that some of the young men here That's something, I mean, some of the people here in the room, they have their own relationship with their fathers. And so if you're willing to share anything that you can right now, and then what we're going to do after that is we're going to take folks through the mask activity, and then we'll have a discussion after that.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I just wasn't sure what you wanted me to say right now, but I can tell you a little bit about my experience with my father and growing up without a father. Um, so I went to the first time I met Ashanti Branch was in middle school, and I was in the 6th grade, and my mom had signed me up for the Ever Forward Club, and I thought that we were just gonna go on field trips because that was what the club was. It seemed they put that in the description, and at this point in time, I felt like I was going through a lot because I didn't have a father figure in my life, and my father, he was there sometimes, but he wouldn't be consistent. And my experience was that he would tell us he would come see us, or my mom would tell us that said he was going to come see us, and then he doesn't show. So my experience with men in general kind of was just being let down. So it was really interesting for me um, to meet Ashanti Branch because to me he was this big guy who was talking about feelings, and I never talked about those before, so I didn't really understand him as a person. To me, because of my experience with my father, men were distant. They didn't speak to their children often, and it was a struggle for me in middle school, especially because I would see my friends, and the relationships with their fathers. Some of them were just like mine, and others were more involved in their children's lives, and I think I felt not jealous, but I kind of had resigned myself to the fact that it was just going to be us. And because my mom, she kind of played that role as a father figure. Because of her putting me in that club in Ever Forward, I was able to meet Ashanti Branch, who I consider a father figure. And I feel like I've learned a lot from Branch, and he's helped me become the young man that I am now. And I'm still learning from him. Even now, as I present to you guys, I still rely on him. I ask him for assistance. But yeah, so that's a little bit about my background with my father, and also a little bit about how I met Mr. Branch, who I also consider to be a father figure.
Thank you, CJ. Um, what we wanted to do in this first breakout, we were going to do a breakout, and I'm not sure if you're in the chat, if you can just tell us if you are available to speak. So I don't know if a breakout makes sense, even if you're not on camera, but you can speak. And if not, then we will just use the chat as our main form of communication. Brother Wendell, if you can make me the co-host, so I can. Actually, I already did. I can share video already, so I don't need to do anything else. But if you are able to be in a conversation with words, and if you can speak, just say I can speak, or maybe you can just raise your hand, and then I can find that. There's some noise. Okay, fantastic. Well, maybe then what we'll do, Mario can speak. Okay, great. Okay, great. That helpful. Thank you for that. It just helps me know how to decide on this next piece. What I would like to do is I would like us to think about our relationship to fatherhood in terms of the whole topic of fatherhood, father figures, fathers, and we use father time in the description because I think that oftentimes when I get the chance to talk to people older than me, and I get to learn from. There's not a lot of older men in my family, so I have maybe one uncle, maybe two uncles. There's not a lot of older men. There's mostly older women in my family. It's just understanding our relationship with time and recognizing, that time is finite. I was asked the other day. I was talking on the radio, listening to the radio, and a man said something like, "What would?" How do you ask the question? The question was about mortality. It says, what would joy be? What would success be if you were immortal? Like, what would that mean? Would time have value if you were immortal? would goals have the same meaning if you were immortal? And it took me minutes to kind of catch that thought. Like immortality. I know that time is finite. I know that time comes to an end. My father passed when he was 30 something, in his 30s, 33, I think, younger. And I think that as I think about the time that I'm here, how do I make the most of it? I think we use father time in the description, because how often do we kind of operate each day as if we have forever in our goals and dreams and visions and plans, and sometimes we don't maybe put the urgency on tasks and goals. So what I would like us to do is, if we, since we know that some people, a few people can speak, but some can't, what we'll do is we'll use the chat for those who can use the chat. And then for those who are willing to speak, we'll just speak here. Trying 1, 2, so only 3. So few people are able to speak right now, we'll just do it out loud here in the main session. And if any of the questions that you can answer in the chat, that would be great. So one of the questions that we want to think about is, what is your relationship to fatherhood? It's a pretty general question, but I want you to think of it in, was there a father around? Do you have a recurrent relationship with a father? Did you not, and then you did later? Are you a father? Are you more spending more energy on the relationship you have now with children that you have, or that you mentor, or do you play a father figure role? Do you, because we are in this conversation around fatherhood and father figures, I think it's important for us to begin to just kind of understand how we are right now connecting in that topic. So what is your relationship to fatherhood? And that's a pretty open for a reason. So I spoke about a little bit about my story, and I'll tell another story about fatherhood in a minute. CJ has shared a part of his story. If there's anyone else who is able to speak, or you can put it in the chat, like, what is your connection? Does you feel joy? Does Father's Day bring you joy when you think about fatherhood? Does Father's Day not bring joy? Did Father's Day that just passed, how did it land for you? That's the question that we want to begin. Rashida, hello. Thank you for being here.
So I have an estranged relationship with fathers. I grew up with my father. However, he was abusive to my mother, both verbally and physically. So my relationship to the idea of father is different than dad. I feel like father's the biological, as some of the youth around here refer to them, versus the dad that cares and nurtures, shows up, defends. And in my adult life, I ended up in an abusive relationship similar to my mother. And once I realized that, I ended that, but that caused a void for my son that came out of that relationship. So for me, it was always, I remember thinking that the kids or friends that I knew that didn't know their father was better off than me, because their father could have been Bill Cosby, Huxtable, right? The Huxtable doctor. You can make him be anything. Whereas the reality of knowing, seeing, being there with all of his flaws was not the blessing. And coming to understand that both me and my friends, the ones that missed their father, and myself, having known who he was and could touch him, we both were still missing a dad. I'll end there.
Thank you, Rashida, for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story. Would you mind me asking, or if you're willing to answer, how's your son doing now? How did Do you know how
So
father?
similar to CJ's mom, I did look for programs that would have different types of male figures. So I even went as so far as he had a nanny, like I had male babysitters when I needed. I always had a male doctor for him, a black dentist, like I was very intentional so that the people who was in his circle were different types of men. So whether they were straight, alpha, macho, 1980s type of guys, or, techie, tinkering, geeky kind of guys, I was very intentional in trying to make sure he was exposed to different types of men in different settings so that hopefully that would make a difference in some way to the relationship that he and his father and I had. Because, he had the alternate weekends and we still had the terrible Father's Days when he didn't show up or forgot it was Father's Day. So Father's Day as a holiday is very interesting to me. I think personally, I think Father's Day and Mother's Day should just be Men and Women Day, because it has ripple effects on, who are actually the nurturers and the people who cannot bear children, etc. But this year was definitely different because of the pandemic in the sense that it felt like this Father's Day, it felt like people were actually honoring men more than just simply looking for a tie. I don't know. It somehow this year, not last year's Father's Day, but this particular year, it felt like people were more about honoring the men that were around, and just trying to spend time and catch a, side hug than in past years.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely felt something more this year too around it. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Um, hopefully, in after this conversation, if I'm not sure what geographic location you are, but if you still need support finding a program for your son, I'm hoping that between some of the resources I may know in the world out there and the resources that the Fund 2 Foundation knows, maybe something may be available. So thank you for sharing that. Um, Dawn, Dawn said Father's Day is a reflective time for me. Thank you, Dawn, for sharing that. Is there anyone who else wants to speak about their relationship, their connection to fatherhood? Mario, hello, Mario, welcome.
Hello, my name is Mario Gonzalez. I am here in Brea, California, in Orange County. And yeah, my relationship with fatherhood, I grew up with a father. He came from a very abusive relationship in his growing up through I guess my grandparents, his parents. And that relationship, he was still a part of it, but he grew up just seeing a lot of violence, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of drug, and all my uncles took on that, but he made the conscious decision to try and be different. And so although he learned from a lot of that, he was still very quiet. And so we didn't necessarily have a speaking relationship, kind of like that DMX video where he was there showing love, but he was not loving. And so I grew up that way, and I had a very strong mom, and still to this day, she's the one that kind of is holding a lot of things together, and keeping the family together, having those conversations. So my dad just kind of took a step back and let her kind of lead. And so that was really my upbringing, is having a lot of strong female presence around me. My grandma was a big influential person. My mom, all my aunts, and they're all very strong, independent women, and I love them so much because of that. But growing up, I can't say that I necessarily had a strong father figure. And it really wasn't until he passed away. He passed away tragically in 2010. And he died by suicide. And that was probably it was a big challenge, because I didn't know how much I missed my dad until he was gone. And so that was kind of a reality check for me. That's when I kind of started. I finished college, so I was trying to figure myself out as a young man growing up, and becoming, now entering the world, trying to figure out, what am I going to do and how am I going to navigate through all of this. And luckily, and I don't know what it is. It could be, we can call it the grace of God. We can call it just being in the right place at the right time. I found an organization that was working with at-risk youth. It was a continuation school here in South Central Los Angeles. And I met a couple of people there who were trying to rehabilitate a lot of the students coming in from juvenile hall, the students who dropped out of high school, the students who were just facing difficult times. They were all going to this continuation school. And so our job at the school was really to get them to graduate high school. And through that, we had two amazing mentors that would come in, and they were African-American gentlemen who would fly in from Miami to California just to host what we would call a mental toughness training. That was kind of the gateway to get students, to weed out the students who were really in here for business and weed out the students that were just here to cause trouble at the school. And through their teachings, and I was at the school for about 10 years, and that's when I really started to learn a lot from them as strong, independent men. And I never had that experience before, where I was getting the lessons taught by men, by actual people who they weren't perfect by any means, but they would tell you the real as men, and tell you the lessons that you should be learning as young individuals, so that when you become a man yourself, you can begin to implement a lot of this stuff, a lot of relationship advice, a lot of one-on-one talk about responsibilities as men, breaking down a lot of stereotypes, and trying to navigate that, the adult world. And we're trying to teach that to younger students, because they're right now seeing a lot of those reflections in themselves, in their parents. And they don't necessarily know where to go and how to go about what they have to do. And it really, I was at that organization for about 8 years, and it took me about 3 years to realize that I myself had a lot of power, wisdom, knowledge, and just my story was able to impact a lot of people. The students that we were serving, it was half Black, half Latino. And so I knew that I had a relationship with a lot of these students, in that we basically grew up the same way. We grew up with the same ideas, the same environments, and it was just the grace of God and the luck that I had and the perseverance that I was going to college and I was being successful, where I could have very easily been one of them sitting in that chair. And through those connections, I really began to learn my voice as a mentor, my voice as a leader in this space, and wanting to give back to those students who maybe don't have these connections and were lost. And through that, I began opening it up. I began thinking about, my relationship with my father and how I can be a better person for myself, for my family, but also for everybody else, and all the other lives that I've been able to impact. And through our program, we've been able to graduate, I'd say about 1,000 students that I've been able to see, and just being able to talk to each one of them and give them some advice, that began to instill a lot more confidence in me to be a mentor and a role model. And now it kind of has changed a bit. Now I'm working at Together We Rise, which is also an organization that's sponsored by the Fund 2 Foundation. And Together We Rise supports foster youth, students who don't have parents, students who did not grow up with parents, grew up in a relationship and had to be removed from their parents. And we provide the students a scholarship. And in that process, I'm also a mentor for them. I'm involved in the students' lives, giving them that advice and moving into college, and then figuring out how to navigate college. For a lot of students, it's a difficult time. I don't know, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have gone to college and we don't understand what's happening. We see people, they're doing this, they're doing that. There's weird dances happening at the college, and we don't necessarily know what to do and how to approach that. And so for a lot of the students that we work with, they are already dealing with a lot of trauma, and going into a college space kind of reintroduces a lot of that trauma. They feel like they're out alone in the world again. And so it's my job, and I feel it's also my responsibility, to try and help them navigate through that college life and help them grow up, kind of get into that maturity stage where they're 18. By the time they turn 24 to 25, they have that understanding of what they need to do as young men, young people of color, young women, and kind of empower them as well. So that's where I've kind of now grown my father figure role and my status, as wanting to be there as a supportive person to anybody who's willing to listen, anybody who needs it, anybody who needs a shoulder. We used to have a saying, we're giants and they're standing on top of the shoulders of the giants. And so I have to continue to re-envision myself as being that giant, as that strong person that is here and can carry the weight of everybody and continue to support them. And I see myself just continuing in the space. So that's kind of where my transition in fatherhood has come. Not having a strong father figure, but then learning, trying to find one, and then finding a couple of individuals who are very strong and powerful in my life, who have been inspirational, and now I'm here doing their work. And they've always told me that one day they expect to see me doing their work. They were already kind of older gentlemen, so they were on the way out, and they were saying, we need people like you, and we need people like you to step up and want to make a difference and be there to make a difference. And now, I now have a child. Now I have a 3-year-old, and I'm starting to see a lot of that in her. I'm trying to make sure that she's growing up right, that I'm there, and I'm that I'm trying to be there as best as I can for her. And me and my wife, we're trying to do the best as we can for her. And that's all that we can hope for at this time, is just continue to make it the best for her, while also trying to support and be there for all the other students and all the other children that I have, if you will, that just being a person there that's responsible, that's there to listen to them and willing to go above and beyond whenever it's needed.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you. And thanks for the work you're doing for young people. I've worked with a CASA young man from foster care, and that emptiness just in general, but also so many layers of trauma. And so I appreciate you for the work you're doing, and thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for that. CJ wrote something in the chat. I think CJ just wrote so powerful. So I don't know if you can see the chat, but he wrote that there. Is there anyone else who wants to speak out loud around this topic?
I just wanted to kind of add on to that part about specifically about the part where like getting advice from someone like Mario, having someone, they don't necessarily have to be older than you, but just having someone in your life who you can come to and speak to about your problems, like, hey, like this happened to me today. This like has never happened to me before. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, just can you help me out? Just having that place where you can go to and get advice from. I wish I had gotten that sooner. And although I did have that with Everforward, I feel like I didn't necessarily take advantage of it the way I could have, because I wasn't even aware of the fact that like I had mental health issues. Like I I didn't even know that I had experienced trauma. I just know that when stuff when X and Y Z happened, this happens. It's just kind of like nobody gets a rule book or directions on how to live life. You just kind of like, especially you know in my perspective, kind of I was just taking plays from everybody else's playbook. Like I didn't have a dad to show me how to play catch or ride a bike or learn how to fight, like shave my face. I didn't have anybody to teach me that until a certain point in my life. But even still, um and you know we always kind of like he Branch always kind of gives me mess about it, but it's hard for me to open up to men, even I think the closest man to me, which is probably Branch, uh, just because I felt that it was unnatural to do so at one point. Like my whole life, this was what I experienced with my father, and this is what they experienced. So I'm like, okay, I guess I just don't get to have that, And and then it's kind of like that thought where like I meet somebody like or a young man may meet someone like Branch, someone trying to guide them, and it's very conflicting because it's kind of like this foreign object. You like, you look like me, you talk like me, you're a man, I'm a young man, you know what I mean? But this is what I thought it was, and this is what you're saying it is, you know what I mean? Or not even what he's saying it is, but the fact that there's so many different examples and representations of men in the world. And it was I want to give you your flowers for the work that you're doing, because even at like, I'm only 19 and I still see people. I was just on the phone with someone 22 years old. His mother had gone to a car accident with she had crashed into one of my friends, and he was under the assumption that his mom was like picked on or something. So he's like, okay, like he doesn't know anything other than this such a person looked like this, and my mom said this, you know what I mean? So, but I feel like because of the lack of guidance that he may have received, he's going about it the wrong way. He's saying like, oh, like, wait till I find you, blah blah blah, and she had gotten into 2 accidents, and it was just a whole miscommunication and mix up, and I felt bad because I couldn't even communicate with this person the way that I know I could have, just because at some point in their life they were failed by someone older than them, and they were led astray. And it's difficult for me to kind of think about that, because on one hand I see myself becoming into a position like Ashanti or Mario. I want to help and guide people younger than me, and do the work that saved me. Like, I want to continue that, but then I meet people like that, and brother, I know you kind of experienced that with the incident in Alameda with the the man insulting you when you were just trying to help that family. You know, it's kind of like I have to separate myself. Like, okay, just like you said, like, this isn't about me. This is about my friend. They need the insurance, name, insurance, all that stuff. We're just trying to get the information. Like, I don't have to invest myself emotionally. But I really wanted to appreciate that, and that just resonated with me, because um I wish that more young men had something like that. You know what I mean? And um I haven't ever been in the foster program, but my father was never there, and I lost my mom at 14. So anybody who kind of is in a similar position to me, it really touches my heart, because I know that, like, sometimes it just really feels like you're alone. So to know that people like you are out here helping us, kids like me, who need help, is really warming. So thank you for that.
Thank you, CJ, for that. Appreciate that. There is a couple of notes in the chat, so I'm going to read those. And thank you, Mario, for inspiring those words from CJ. I appreciate you. Linda wrote, make sure I don't miss anyone else. Linda wrote, I had the father time piece because of my relationship with my father changed through time. Super tender, then animosity, then silence, then newfound understanding. So there's the time, the continuum of fatherhood that sometimes we hear about as fathers begin to get old and realize their own mortality, that, hey, I'm about to be, things are finishing up in my life, and man, maybe I'm feeling alone, maybe I'm feeling whatever those things are. I'm not here to be able to pathologize all the reasons, but we know that as we begin to recognize that things kick into a new scene in our lives. So thank you for that. And Janelle wrote, at the Eagle Academy Foundation, we embrace boys of color from all possible backgrounds. We have an amazing mentorship program that provides great adult male figures, as well as peer mentors who consistently speak life and encouragement into the students at our network of 6 schools. Many of our students are from challenged communities without father figures, and we lean into that reality and confront it. Yeah, thank you for that, Janelle. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. One of the things that we've seen in his work, and you heard CJ telling his story, that sometimes young men will resist. Like, the help is there, support is there, like, or at least we tell them it's there, and we try and help them believe that it's there, but they sometimes will still resist it. And sometimes it's confusing as me as a mentor to be like, why are you resisting? Now, the reason I know what resistance looks like is because I'm a good resistor. You know what I mean? Like, not because I think I know everything, but because I don't ask for help. I'm getting better at it now, but for many of my years, there was no one to ask for help. So why would you ask when there was no one to ask? I wasn't taught that. I thought you were just supposed to get it done yourself. And so the lessons that are learned sometimes have to get, you have to be re-brainwashed. You have to be, if you've been trained in certain type of thinking that you don't get to ask anybody for help, you have to figure it out yourself, suck it up, don't complain, definitely don't show no feelings about it, then you may get into a habit. And some of those habits are easier to erase, and some of those habits are a lot harder. And so when CJ is on a resisting season, as much as I don't like it, I get it, and I'm like, yep, this was happening. And I take my place, and I say, well, you know what? When you're ready, I'm here. And maybe sometimes I have to say something to him that he don't like to hear. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna speak I always be here for you. But ultimately, I wish somebody would have like given me a piece of their mind at some point while I was trying to figure it all out by myself in here. And I think that some of the times our work is hard. So I want to show you a text exchange from a young man and myself. Um, um, I'll show you Paige just wrote on a comment. I'll read Paige's comment and then I'll come back to that. What I was going to show you. The Eagle Academy of Ocean Hill, Brownsville, does an excellent job working with young men. This school has one of the highest graduation rates in the city. Mr. Mead and crew have done an excellent job turning boys to men. So that's Eagle Academy of Ocean Hill, Brownsville. And so, Paige, what city is that? What's is it? It sounds like New York, but I'm not 100. I don't want to assume anything wrong. So thank you for sharing that information about the Eagle Academy, and it's New York. I don't know why I thought it was. Thank you. Brother Wendell wrote, the relationship with my father is non-existent as of the last 5 years. It's hard for me because I share his name, mannerisms, likeness, and more. I hate admitting that I miss him. So I do my best to be a great father and ensure my son never feels that way. Unfortunately, the lack of a father hasn't limited my ability to pour love into my son. Fatherhood means a lot to me because I'm a father. Everything I do shows my son what a father is supposed to do, and I want to create a great example for him. Thank you, Brother Wendell. Appreciate that. And actually, those last two comments actually connect to this. What I'm going to share with you. A young man in my work, he's a new father, and he oftentimes does the running thing, like the disappearing act. Like he will disappear for months at a time. And I can never, for a while, I could never understand it. But some of the text messages that we've exchanged over the years have started to kind of clarify why he would run and how he began to define what it meant for somebody who is not family, somebody who is an outsider, for all, ways of describing the words. I'm not family. I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor, I'm an outsider, right? This is one of the exchanges that really helped me to kind of still continue understanding where he's coming from. Because I was asking him, why do you run? All I'm here to do is try and support you. And he wrote, why do I run? And why do you keep trying to help me? It is so confusing and it hurts me to run from you, but I feel like you shouldn't be doing this for me. Why are you there for me when my own blood won't move a finger? It's confusing. I don't have anything but love for you, Branch. Thank you. And I think that, until this moment, I didn't realize why he was running. I didn't realize, I thought he was just going off into his own little, man cave. He's a young man. He's 21. He's, just became a father. So maybe he doesn't want to have any support, but not knowing that he was running because he's telling himself, well, you're not family and family's supposed to do this help. And you're trying to help me. So something's wrong. And I think that sometimes the package can create the confusion. The packaging of how he described that, well, I should be family if I'm going to help you. Only family is supposed to help you. And I think oftentimes if we don't help young people begin to recognize that it may come from different places, different spaces, it may look different, then they could always be believing that it's supposed to come from their parents. I think Mario spoke about working with the foster kids, right? Like any of those kids who have a hard time trusting could believe, well, if my family didn't want me or care about me, why should you? Why should you really love me? Why do you want me in your house? And it oftentimes seems as if it's ulterior motives as opposed to just what love looks like. It's sometimes unconditional. It sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense. It sometimes even goes closer when somebody pushes further away. So this is what he wrote, and I wrote something back to him, mostly just telling him, I don't know why you came in my life. I didn't go out looking for you. You just showed up one day. We started talking. We connected, and now we're here. And I think that is how we hold this work with the young men in our work. So let me stop here. So I saw another comment come in, but I want to share. Thank you, Kay, for sharing. One of the things that we've seen in this work and when we do with these masks, I'm going to invite you all to make a mask, and I'm going to share with you the website where you can do that. In our work, we created a campaign called the Million Mask Movement. And what we've seen in this work is that a lot of young men who may not know how to navigate life without this idea of this proverbial mask. It's like what we let the world see about us. The mask we call is like, this is the outside. What are the things we let the world see about us? What are the things that we don't let people see? How many things are happening behind the mask, behind the scenes of things that we don't talk about? And what we've found and what we see regularly is that there's so much more going on behind the mask. There's so much more going on behind the mask. I'm going to show you a clip of when we first did the mask activity. But while I show that, I want you to get a chance to make the mask. I want you to get a chance to make the mask. And that will help you to kind of land into, oh, this is what we're talking about. Because I can tell you about it, but I really think when you experience it, it's going to change a lot. It's going to land possibly in a different way. Okay. So I'm going to put this link in the chat, and I'll invite you to go to the link. Ideally, you can do it now. And what we ask people to do when we ask them to do this activity, we're building out the new version of this app. So the link that you hear there is going to take you to like the newer version of the website. We ask people to, with one picture and 6 words, using one picture and 6 words, to share. First, here is what I let the world see. Here are 3 things I let the world see. And then here are 3 things I don't let people see, I don't talk about. And that is going to be what the mask is. And we've done this work with people around the world, and we've collected over 50,000 masks from more than, we're going to do a final count this summer of how many countries have participated. More than 30 countries have people who have made masks. And what we know is this work is growing. It's going to be growing and expanding this summer. We're inviting people all over the world. So in your work, in your programs, we invite you to be a part of it. With the summer, we're creating a new tool that will allow people to make masks and deliver the workshop to their audience, their students, their colleagues, their family. And what I want to do first, before I do that, I'm going to show you the clip that we first did this activity, when we first did the mask activity. Because when we created it, it wasn't trying to create a global movement. I was working with a group of 10 or so young men from Fremont High School in Oakland, California, who were doing not well in school. Now, they weren't all failing every class, but failing classes was a more prominent response to how they were connecting to school. And it wasn't because they were not intelligent. They were brilliant young men. They were amazing young men. But because their relationship with teachers was always combative, because their relationship with their peers was oftentimes combative, no one wanted to be around them. So the easier thing to do with a kid like that is just kick them out of class. You want to argue about everything? You want to argue because I have you to move your seat? You want to argue because I take you to watch your pencil? You just want to argue. And so most teachers was like, get out. And so all these young men were walking the halls all the time. And this is during advisory. Advisory should be your easiest class. There's really not much work in advisory class. It's really just, can you take advice from somebody, if that? And these young men were walking around the halls. And so when I took over them in my advisory, they weren't happy about it because they know, first of all, I'm not kicking you out. Because even if that's what you want, sometimes they just want to get kicked out. You're not getting kicked out, and you got to show up. So, and they know that because I'm from Oakland and I went to that high school, that not only will I call their house, I'll show up at their house with no worry whatsoever. Or maybe some worry because I'm a little smart, but not usually a worry. They know that Branch will pop up at their house just because, right? And I think the work that you're going to see in this circle that we did when we first did this activity was me just trying to figure out, what am I missing? Like, you're so amazing, but yet the way school measures you shows that you're not amazing. And so how do we help you find the balance between the way schools grade you, rank you, evaluate your goodness versus not goodness, badness, but show them how amazing you are. And so this clip, I'll show you this one clip of the documentary. It's called The Mask You Live In. It's a documentary that our work was featured in, and hopefully this will we'll just share some context around that, and then we'll get ready to close out. And there's some comments in the chat, so let me actually, before I show the video, let me maybe some of you already read in the chat, so thank you. I haven't read them, but I'll come back to them after I show the clip. Okay, here we go. And thank you for doing your being communicating in the chat. Here we go.
This is my high school. I graduated from this high school. I never wanted to be a teacher. I was going to be an engineer and make a lot of money. I became a teacher because I saw that my community was hurting without good teachers. And I think one of the biggest challenges was that, like, I've been through it, right? And so I want them to be able to know that they can move forward and they can succeed and they can do whatever they choose to do in life, but it's going to take hard work. If you go 2 blocks away, you'll find prostitution. There's a lot of gang activity in the area. I consider it like a war zone, right? Our kids get up every morning. They have to prepare their mask for how they're gonna walk to get to school. So if that mask requires me not to let people see any of my vulnerabilities, that means I may have to put on a very tough mask. And then when I get here, hopefully I can take the mask off so I can focus on learning rather than continually wearing this hard shell. A lot of our students don't know how to take the mask off. So I want you to take one of these masks, take the mask. Here's what we're gonna do. On this mask, you're gonna draw what represents you. What are some things that you hold up every day when you walk to school that you let people see? And then on the back, I want you to write, what is it you don't let people see? Like, what's behind the mask? All right?
Oh, yeah. What else?
So what I want you to do is I want you to take your mask and I want you to ball it up. I want you to hit someone across the circle with your mask. Don't leave your seat. Don't leave your seat. You can't leave your seat. Open it up. Okay. So who wants to reveal what's on the mask they open? Read it out loud, just the front.
Funny, caring, and happy.
Okay. What's behind the mask?
Sadness and fear.
Sadness and fear.
Goofy, kindness, happiness, silliness, smile, and fun.
Okay. On the back?
Anger.
Anger. Okay. I'll read mine. The front says entertainment. That's what I show on the mask. On the back says pain.
Energy, frustration, happiness, friendly, heart, smile, outgoing. And on the back it says sadness, scared, tears, missing my dad, trying to take care of my brothers, and pain.
Why do you think we hold back our pain?
People don't want everybody to know everything. You gotta keep your poker face on. Can't let them know what you got.
How hard is that to walk around every day with the poker face on? It's not just an activity on paper. It's about real stuff that we are dealing with as young men that we hide behind because we don't feel safe.
So that was our feature in the documentary, The Mask You Live In. I'm going to put the link to that video in the chat so that you can watch it and hopefully you get to see the documentary at some point. It's a really powerful documentary. And what it talks about is this hyper masculine narrative of being a man and how it's hurting our boys. And the reason I stopped there because we're about to hit the time, but I wanted to do 2 more things before we let you go. First of all, that work that we've been doing with those masks started on pieces of paper like that. and they have now grown to the digital tool that I just showed you the link for. In between that and where we are now, I want to show you this one mask that stands out, and I'm going to show you a couple of masks that have been made digitally. So this is one of the ones we did with pieces of paper. This was when we graduated from me printing masks out and actually having people draw masks. This one, I'm gonna let you read some words from the front. CJ, will you read these words while I show them? So this is the front and this is the back. I'm just gonna let you read the words from the front of this mask.
Smart, happy, caring, outgoing.
Okay. And you probably see there's some stuff bleeding through the paper, but I'm gonna let you read the back. This is the back.
Wow. Anger.
Yeah.
Anger, 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 anger.
Yeah.
Anger.
Yeah.
A whole lot of anger.
Written 18 times. And this mask really, every time I see it, I just it really stands out a lot to me. And this is from all boys school. So it was from a young man. He actually on the bottom, I don't know if he knew what he was doing. He actually wrote his Instagram handle on it. So I never show it, but he is a African-American young man. And I was like, why you put your Instagram thing on this poster? But nonetheless, the fact that he recognized of all the stuff he's carrying, all this anger and sadness and worry and fear. And I think we, in this work, we need just more spaces to give young men a space to talk about how they feel in however it looks, whether it looks like anger, whether it looks like sadness, whether it looks like fear. But what we see is our jails are full of men. 94% of people are men who are in prison and in jail. And so we have some work to do around that, I believe. The last thing I'll show you before I close in and see if there's any final comments, as you get ready to decide to be a part of and check out this tool that we're sharing, this is the site that you would have went to if you didn't already go there. And on this gallery, what you can get to see on the gallery is all the masks from around the world. And what I wanted to do is I went in here just to kind of check on some of the words that may pop up, but you'll see the masks that were made most recently. But I'm gonna put a keyword in here. I'm gonna put in father. And only 7 masks are gonna show up right now, but I'm gonna show these 7. So I'm gonna zoom into this a little bit. Zoom in. Okay. So this is a 39-year-old male from Surrey. I'm not sure where that is, but that person wrote father on the front. And these are the things of the father on the back. For the father, the front is the things they let the world see. The things they don't get to talk about is stuff on the back. I'll just let you read them. I'm going to go to the next one. Another father, 32-year-old male from Dublin Unified Schools. That's here in the Bay Area. And this is what they don't get to talk about. Anger, sadness, loneliness. There's another father from Snoqualmie. These are the things it doesn't get to talk about. Masculinity, stress, and burden. And I think I'll show 2 more. There's another father, positive, ambitious. The things that his father doesn't get to talk about. Emotional, anxious, and unsure. Where do fathers get to talk about not being sure? Another father from Phoenix, witty and caring, and gets to show on the outside, but he doesn't get to show feeling insecure and uncertain and anxious. And what I want you to just know, I mean, this is only a small sample set. I just happened to pick the word father because that's what we're talking about today. And I think this may be the last. This is from Palm Beach. Husband, leadership, and a father. I get to show these things. And things I don't get to talk about. Hurt, guilt, and pain. And so what we see in this work is that when we get a chance to give people, not just men, women, but everyone a chance to recognize there's so much more to us than what we can see by just looking at us on the outside. There's so much more to each of us. And this is the work that we're trying to do. This is the work that we are trying to help people to see. And I want to thank you all for, welcome, Lou. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Hey, CJ, go ahead. I see your hand. Are you waving?
I was just saying hello.
Okay, right on. Well, I want to leave a chance for if there's any last comments before we. Welcome, Lou. Thank you for being here. I thank you for making it to the space. Thank you, everyone, for communicating in the chat. I appreciate those conversations that were happening in the chat. CJ, will you copy some of the links for Lou and just send them to him in the chat so he can take a look at those? And what I do know is that, yes.
Is it okay if I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. So sorry. We've been having massive internet issues because of the heat in DC. Things have been going off left and right. I popped in a few minutes right before that powerful video clip, which set up your presentation of those masks. And I presume they're from across the country. I saw Surrey, in the UK, I saw some other places. It resonated with me, where that common thread of key terms like sadness, burden, loneliness, depression, that's universal across all Black men, regardless of geographic breakdown. That to me was really, really powerful. My question to you, Ashanti, is I work for a program at the UNCF, UNCF STEM Scholars Program. We're a grantee of Fund2 Foundation, Ms. Linda Wilson. We recently started, Ashanti, about 5 months ago, an initiative called the Black Male Excellence Initiative. And what we're trying to do, Ashanti, the goal really is to create a safe space of community and fellowship across the board for all of our young men. Some of which I know because I've had conversations with myself personally that use those adjectives consistently, to be quite honest with you. So I just want to tee that up because I'd like to get in touch with you and see how we can collaborate. I think there's a lot of work that we can do together.
That would be so great. I will. I'll put my email in the chat right here.
Please, I'll copy it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. If there's any, I want to leave you with my email is in the chat. Please do reach out. If you haven't seen the game we created, I'm gonna send you the video so you can see the game we created. It's called Ever Forward the Adventure. In the video, our campaign was fully funded. So we have over 300 teachers who are going to receive a free game, which is really a deepening connection game. It's called a game, but it's an activity about building connection. And so if you know any teachers, we'll have that link available soon. But what you'll be able to do is to invite teachers. They'll get a free deck of the cards. I'm going to put the link here so you can go see it. And then you can watch the video. You'll see CJ in the video. So as you get a chance to go check out that video, we hope that you will be a part of this movement that we're creating and building connection. And Kevin, that's right, and Kevin. You haven't met Kevin yet, but Kevin is also in the video with CJ. They kind of kick off this game that we created, and we believe that it's gonna change lives. We believe that not only the game itself, but also the building of connection. And as we see not only our young men, but older men also. Hopefully we don't wait till we are on our way out before we find and bring people closer to us. Hopefully we do it sooner. And so thank you everyone for sharing in the chat. If there's any last minute comments, CJ, go ahead.
Just a thought, Wendell, I remember seeing that you had said you'd got your namesake from your father, and you look your likeness in him, and stuff like that. And that touched me because I am a junior, and I also got my name from my father. I look just like my father, and I think I also struggle with the feelings similar to yours. And if you're interested, just throwing it out here, but maybe we could get you on a show. We could get you you and I, or another young man, or you and another man, but playing the adventure. I think it would be good.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Cool. Well, I'm excited, and I would so appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you for everyone who spoke out loud, Mario and Rashida, and if anyone else I missed who spoke out loud, Lou, thank you for being here. And if anyone else, CJ, thank you for being here. Thanks for your presence. I'm always glad to be sharing a stage with you and a space with you. And if anyone else, you want to reach out to, my emails in the chat. We look forward to seeing you again really soon. And take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Have a great day, folks.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.